The clash of iron on steel shattered the calm of a mild Saturday afternoon. I sprinted to my window and saw something that made my fists clench. Clarissa Langford, head of the Fairhill Terrace Residence Council, was swinging a hammer into the hood of my younger brother's freshly bought SUV like she was trying to kill it. Her expression was pure fury, her expensive hairstyle bouncing with each wild swing as she shouted something about unsightly vehicles ruining the look of her picture-perfect neighborhood. Ever wonder what happens when a power-tripping neighborhood watchdog decides to physically destroy a soldier's property over a made-up rule? I didn't have to wonder. I watched it happen in real time. Name's Marcus Delaney. I live in the Fairhill Terrace high-rises, where I usually keep my head down and my rent paid on time. I'm an electrical systems consultant these days, but before this chapter of my life, I spent a chunk of it in uniform. Structure, discipline, and staying calm under pressure weren't just useful. They were required. My brother, Alex, had just gotten back from his third tour overseas. He served as a trauma doctor in conflict zones for nearly a decade and had finally decided to hang up his fatigues and come home for good. He'd been staying with our folks, but drove 4 hours to see me, scope out the area, and consider settling nearby. I'd warned him about Clarissa, told him to stick to the guest parking and keep a low profile. She had a reputation for being overzealous, to put it kindly. I didn't expect she'd turn it into a full-on scene. His SUV, a deep slate-gray Ridgeback XLT, was his first big civilian purchase. It had a discreet medical corps sticker on the back and was parked completely within the marked visitor lines. Dusty from the drive, sure, but otherwise spotless. We were a couple of beers into a chill catch-up on my balcony when we heard the voice, loud, nasal, and outraged. Whose ratty truck is this? This isn't a salvage yard. I looked at Alex. He let out a long breath I recognized all too well. The kind you take when you've seen worse, but still can't believe what's in front of you. Down in the lot, there she was. Clarissa, in her usual pastel blazer and pearls combo, barking into her phone while slapping a neon violation sticker onto Alex's windshield. Alex calmly walked down with me, trailing behind. When we reached her, she didn't even glance at him before declaring the vehicle a visual blight and quoting some rule about cleanliness and vehicle appearance. I introduced Alex, mentioned he was only visiting, but that didn't slow her down. I don't care where he came from, she snapped. We have standards here. This thing looks like it belongs in a war zone, not a luxury complex. Alex stayed cool, even apologized for the dust, explaining he'd come straight from Fort Bastion and hadn't had a chance to wash it. But Clarissa was already dialing someone else, muttering about tow trucks. We tried to walk away. That's when we heard her trunk open and turned just in time to see her pull out a hammer. She didn't hesitate. First swing, dent in the hood. Second, shattered the headlight. By the third hit, we were sprinting. I got to her just as she was winding up again, grabbed her wrist mid-air. What the hell are you doing? I'm enforcing the rules, she shouted, trying to yank away. That vehicle violates community appearance standards, and I have the right to act. Alex stood still, staring at the damage, a blank look on his face like his brain hadn't caught up yet. That car was more than transport. It was freedom, a fresh start. She had no clue what she just smashed. This is destruction of private property, I said, my grip still firm. You're out of line. Phones were out by now. Neighbors were filming. Clarissa, realizing she had an audience, shouted louder. I know the precinct chief. Nothing's going to happen to me. Alex pulled out his phone. I think you should speak to someone first, he said, calm as ever. 25 minutes later, a convoy rolled into the lot. 2 matte black SUVs and 3 military vehicles. Uniformed personnel stepped out, and leading them was a silver-haired man with a commanding presence, Colonel Raymond Cortez. Dr. Delaney, he said, shaking Alex's hand. Wish we were meeting under better circumstances. He turned to me next. You must be the brother. Heard a lot about you two. Then he faced Clarissa. And you must be the one who thought a claw hammer was a reasonable way to enforce parking guidelines. She stammered something about standards and authority, but Cortez cut her off. Ma'am, the man whose vehicle you just attacked saved 12 lives under fire. One of them was mine. He pulled down the collar of his shirt, showing a brutal scar. This would have ended me if not for him. The police arrived just then. Clarissa didn't go quietly, but she went, hauled off in the back of a cruiser, still shouting about bylaws and property values. Colonel Cortez arranged for the SUV to be repaired by military specialists. A week later, it came back not just good as new, but upgraded, courtesy of a grateful base technician who owed Alex his life. Clarissa? She faced charges, lost her HOA position. Rumor is she's moving to a neighborhood where she doesn't have to run things. Fitting. Alex ended up signing a lease nearby. The new HOA leader, Walter, a retired librarian, welcomed him with a potluck. The whole community showed up. And me? I learned that sometimes the best justice isn't delivered by law books, but by Humvee's truth and a brother who chose grace over fury. That incident with Clarissa didn't just change Alex's plans. It shifted something deeper in our community. For the first time since moving to Fairhill Terrace, I saw people come together not out of obligation, but because they wanted to stand for something better. Neighbors who'd never exchanged more than a polite nod at the mailbox now stopped to ask about each other's days. Families who used to rush inside after work began lingering in the courtyard, talking, sharing, laughing. It was like we all woke up from a long nap and remembered we lived here together. As for Alex, he became something of a local legend. Not because he asked to be, and not because of the medals or the story that spread like wildfire, but because of how he handled the whole thing. Calm, composed. He never once raised his voice. He didn't retaliate or even press charges until others insisted it was the right thing. That kind of restraint, that kind of character, it left an impression. He started volunteering at the local hospital, then accepted a permanent role in the trauma unit. His battlefield experience made him a quiet force in the ER. Patients loved him, staff respected him, and every so often, someone would recognize him as the guy from the HOA hammer incident and thank him for more than just medical care. Even I began to see my apartment complex differently. It wasn't just a place to sleep anymore. It was a community, one worth protecting, not with hammers or violations, but with empathy and accountability. Clarissa's downfall served as a harsh reminder of what happens when power gets drunk on its own reflection. She saw dirt on a vehicle and assumed it meant disrespect. She looked at a soldier and saw only a rule breaker. What she missed, what so many people miss, is that real respect doesn't come from spotless SUVs or manicured lawns. It comes from how you treat people when no one's watching. And in her case, when everyone was watching, her obsession with order blinded her to the humanity right in front of her. And while she lost her seat, her image, and eventually her home, the community gained something she never gave them: respect. For service, for stories, for each other. A month after moving in, Alex and I sat on his balcony, looking out at the courtyard below, where kids were playing and neighbors were gathered around a grill. He raised his beer. To better chapters, he said. I clinked his bottle. To places that finally get it right. The breeze carried laughter up to us, and for once, Fairhill Terrace didn't feel like a fortress of rules. It felt like home, and that beat any HOA handbook, hands down. In the months that followed, things only got better. The HOA started hosting regular meetings where residents actually had a voice. New committees formed: gardening, community watch, even a veteran support group, led by Alex himself. People started waving at each other, lending tools, sharing meals. What once felt like a cold, controlled environment slowly transformed into a neighborhood with soul.